Thank you, everyone. I always love to acknowledge whenever people show up for an event that, number one, you're investing in yourself, and I applaud that for everybody. Continued knowledge and growth is the only way to truly get to be, as in the introduction, the best version of yourself. It's a constant evolution, no matter how far I go in my career, no matter how far my colleagues go in their career. The ones that are successful are always the ones working on themselves. And with that statement, I don't just mean working on their business, I mean working on themselves. In order to be the best version and reach your highest potential, you have to work on yourself personally more than your business. And when I talk about branding, people think immediately I'm going to come in with these goal settings and all this technical, tactical skill sets, and we're going to talk a lot about that today. But we're going to talk about the true component of branding first and foremost, and it's going to be a theme throughout. Before I get started, how many of you are students here? How many of you currently own businesses? How many want to own a business someday? Okay, great, perfect. And for those who don't necessarily want to start a business, or you're not sure if you want to start a business or go work for another company, it doesn't matter. All the laws and principles I'm saying today apply for everybody. So I'd like to thank you all for being here, and my intention to you and to every time I speak is to give you the best of myself that I can give you, that you walk away with more knowledge and content and inspiration than you ever thought possible walking in this door. I want to begin with the truth about branding. Marketing, PR, social media, events, networking, all of those things all compile one big umbrella, and it's called branding. But if you do not know who you are, you cannot figure out what your brand is. So I have so many people come to me day in and day out. I want to elevate my brand. I want to take my brand to the next level. Or I want to start a business, but I don't know what I want to do. And I keep saying over and over and over again to all of those questions, you're asking the wrong question. It's not about what you want to do, it's who do you want to be. That is where it all begins. What is your legacy going to be? What is the footprint that you are leaving in the world? Because unless you know that, and unless you are clear, you will be challenged day in and day out to create a successful brand. You will be challenged day in and day out to figure out decisions, clear, concise decisions. Because once you're clear as to who you are, what your purpose is, and what your brand identity is, all those decisions become very simple. They become very clear. Do they align with your intention or do they not? And then most of them quickly fall by the wayside because many of them do not. What I mean by what do you want to do, who do you want to be, that is a big macro thought. And you have to let down all of your fears and all of your barriers and all of your own self-limiting beliefs and all of society's self-limiting beliefs in order to figure that out. You have to envision yourself in the grandest possible way. They begin with your vision without, I haven't got a degree in this, or I don't have experience in this, or I don't have an understanding of that, because that doesn't matter. And you're going to hear my journey and you're going to understand what I mean by that doesn't matter. Education and experience, all those things are important. Remember, I started with you have to constantly invest in yourself. But they can't stop you if you're passionate and determined to make something happen. Because often you can find the people who have the skill sets that you don't have to create that brand vision. When I started the Butler Bag Company, which became one of the world's fastest growing handbag brands in history, I knew nothing about design. Nothing. I can't even draw a stick person. I kid you not. I had no idea how to manufacture a product. I'd never manufactured a product before. I had no idea how to get a product into a retail space. I had no idea how to run a business that was a product inventory driven company. No clue. But I was passionate, and I was determined, and I believed in my vision, and I believed in myself. So along the journey, I found those people who can draw. I found those people to teach me how to get into retailers. I found those people to teach me how to do PR and marketing for my brand. But all of those things would have never fallen into place had I not had clarity in myself, in my vision, and my brand. So you cannot allow yourself to stop yourself, or your vision will stay limited, and you will never be able to achieve truly what you're capable of achieving. So beginning by eliminating those self-limiting beliefs and society's beliefs about putting you into a box, envision anything you want for yourself. My daughters, they just had their 8th birthday 2 days ago. We share birthday space together, usually right around Easter. So it's always a little bit of a hectic time. My daughters 2 years ago came home from school, and it was during that time period in 1st grade where they talk about what your parents do for a living. And I heard them outside my bedroom, and one saying, "No, she writes books for a living. No, she's on TV." And the other one's going, "No, she does handbags. She makes bags. That's what she does." And they're arguing over what I do. And I come out and I say, "What are you guys talking about?" And they're like, "Well, she told people in school that you write books and go on TV, and I said that you make handbags." And I said, "Well, I do. I do all of those." I said, to make it more simple, you can tell people that your mom is a serial entrepreneur. So they looked at me, inquisitive, and they go, "What kind of cereal did you make?" Which I thought was hilarious. But what I felt so excited to teach my daughters at that moment was you do not need to fit into one box. You do not need to fit in one mold. You can choose to thrive in as many boxes as you want to, because quite honestly, my designing bags sheds right over to my speaking, because I'm telling you about my experiences in designing bags and creating television content. And that television content comes from here and comes from there, and all the other things that I do for a living all connect. Everything we do connects. Everything we do integrates. Branding is full integration. I did a project not too long ago with a huge, highly respected advertising marketing firm. And they brought all of these leaders in entrepreneurship in, and they said, "What do you think is more influential? Where should money be invested more, advertising or marketing? Or should they be put together?" And as an entrepreneur, I laugh, because as an entrepreneur, you do everything. But I can't imagine how you can do one without doing the other. How does the marketing division not know what the advertising division's doing? And then how do they do something separate than what the social media people are doing? And then how do they do something separate than what the communications is doing? And then something separate than sales? That's silly to me, because it's really all trying to achieve one goal. It's called brand building. At the end of the day, you can't have sales without having marketing and advertising and PR and social media, but you also can't have all those things without talking to the salespeople, because the salespeople know what people want. The salespeople are in touch with the customer, or the closest connection to the customer. Oh, and by the way, you can't have all those things without also having customer service. All together, communicating. But if you walk into most corporations, there is clearly a subject-oriented division. Marketing division, communications division, advertising's over there, the sales division over there, and guess what? Most of them don't even talk. But maybe once a month, maybe once a quarter. Branding is full integration. Everything pushes. One pushes to the other, which just pushes the other. And you'll understand that as I keep talking more and more. I had an amazing mentor who taught me about branding early on in my career. He worked for Ted Turner. Ted Turner has many, many, many properties, right? He doesn't have one business. He doesn't have one property. He's a mogul. He has an empire. His job, my mentor's job, was to get all of them to elevate together, make one impact the other, and the other impact the other, because that builds 10 Turters' empire. So he always said, think of everything you do as pushing and layering one thing onto the other. When I tweet something in social media, it hopefully affects my sales, and my sales then gives me communication back to my customer service, or my sales creates a story for me in PR and gives me a marketing strategy based on my feedback. They do not stand independently. But one of the biggest changes or evolutions that I've seen because of social media and my own belief, because of what I've achieved or accomplished on my own with my business, is the validation or necessity, actually, of a voice to a brand. We've really moved into this space of personal branding. Social media changed the game and continues on so many levels. People that never were on TV before became social media rock stars. Gary Vaynerchuk, if you guys have not heard of him, you should follow him on Twitter, Garyvee. He created a book called Crush It. But prior to creating Crush It, he did this simple little thing called Wine Library TV because his family owned a bunch of vineyards. And he liked to talk about wine. And so he did this Wine Library TV and became a personality, a voice. And he started in his little space, the wine space, because that's what he was known as an expert in. But quickly, and where he stands today, is an expert in entrepreneurship and personal branding. He started with this little Wine Library TV on YouTube, and now he has millions of followers. And he gets paid a lot of money to speak. And he gets a lot of money in advances on his book deals. And I think last night he was on Piers Morgan. But he didn't do the traditional route. He didn't do the TV and then you become, you're Kim Kardashian, so automatically you have millions of followers on Twitter. He did it in a very genuine, authentic way that built a following so when he speaks, people listen. Brand equity, a brand is about a value proposition. What are you giving to the customer? What are you consistently giving to the customer? Steve Jobs, one of the greatest icons. Going back to what I just said about a voice for a company. He was a voice. He knew who he was. If you read his works and things that he's written and on YouTube, some of the speeches he's given, he knew who he was. And who he was shines in everything that Apple is today. He says in one of his famous quotes, basically, don't let anybody else tell you who you are or what you can be, because you know it better for yourself than anybody else. Because that's exactly why Apple became Apple, because everybody else told him that Apple wasn't going to be able to be successful. People told him all the ways that it should be done, or all the way that they do it, or nobody's done it like that before, or you can't go from making computers to changing the music industry, because no one's done that before, and you're not allowed to do that. Guess who wins those games? Not the people that play it safe. The people who play it safe will always remain in the group of the followers. The leaders, the true leaders, the game changers, are the ones that take risks, the ones that do what no one else has done before. Mark Burnett, creator of Survivor and many, many other successful shows, Apprentice, and many more from there. Barbara was here today, Shark Tank as well. Mark Burnett was told over and over and over again when he went to launch Survivor that no one was looking for that. No one's looking for that kind of television. People are looking for game shows. That's what we're looking for, game shows. And he kept getting turned down and turned down 6 times, maybe 9 times. I forget what the exact number was. He actually went to CBS 3 times. To get Les Moonves' attention the last time, he took a picture, he took a cover of Time magazine and posed a picture of him and Les on the front and said something like, the headline was, "Survivor changes the face of television." Often, you have to get people to see your vision visually in order for them to get it. Because articulating it and saying it, they can go into their own imagination. They can tone out words. They can tune in when they want, tune out again. He gave him the vision. I've pitched a lot of TV shows since that day. And many, many times, just about every single one, I've heard people say, no one's looking for that right now. People are looking for this. And my response is, no one was looking for Survivor when it changed the entire face of television. And you always have to remember that. As someone who wants to be an entrepreneur, a brand leader, a leader in any industry, even if you're working for a company, I mean, I work with a lot of big corporations, and as an entrepreneur, it is really challenging, and you have to be focused and determined and ready and willing to take risks, especially in a corporate environment, because everyone else around you is trying to play it safe. But if you're going to stand out and you're going to be the game changer, you're going to have to take risk. Because playing it safe isn't going to get you to the CEO or the CMO or the CFO position. It's not going to get you to a vice president, and it's not going to get you on a board of directors. Branding is about trying to create something that doesn't already exist, or exist, but you're going to create a greater value, a greater reason, a greater purpose. When I created the Butler bag, my first business was in the fitness industry. I was a national level fitness competitor. I owned a gym right out of college. And I was passionate about fitness and wellness. And it was the coolest experience for me at 25 years of age to know what it was like to truly make money by doing what I love. And once you do that, you can't go back. Once you go there and know what that feels like, you can't go back to doing something that, or you can't ever go to doing something that you're not passionate about, because your soul starts to die quickly. And so I was so passionate about fitness and wellness, but at that time I also thought I was Superwoman to a level that doesn't share the same wisdom that I do today. And at 26 years of age, my kidneys, liver, and heart all started to shut down from overtraining, overworking, and not sleeping. But it was the greatest gift in the world, because what I didn't realize at that time was I was starting to quickly go down the wrong path. I got into the fitness industry because I was passionate about motivating and inspiring people, pushing people out of their comfort zone to want more for themselves. But I quickly got sucked into what fitness is as an industry. Started judging my worth and value based on my body fat content and the weight on the scale and what size I was. It eats at your soul. When you get off path, life has a way of showing up and trying to get you back onto path. I'm sure I went off path a couple times, but this time I couldn't not listen, because I couldn't move anymore. Kidneys, liver, and heart, my body shut down. Because I was going down a path that was unfulfilling, and I was going down a path that wasn't my purpose. It started as my purpose, but it wasn't becoming my purpose because I was doing the wrong things. My motivation, my intention changed. Going back to branding, you have to know yourself. Beyond knowing yourself, you have to know the intention of why you're doing what you're doing day in and day out. I lost that clarity. I lost the excitement and the passion for what I was doing and got caught up in the hype. And it became purposeless, because I was no longer helping other people. Or maybe I was, but not nearly with the same passion and vigor that I was prior to that. But if you're going on that path, doing the right things, all the right things start to show up and happen. So I had to quickly evolve. I didn't have a plan B. I didn't have after this fitness business, I'm going to go do this business. I didn't have that because I thought I had at least until I was 40, which I'm one year shy of right now, as of today. At least until I was 40, I was going to do that. But quickly, I had no choice. I had employees, I had clients, I had people that were relying on me. And I had to change. So I realized what I was really good at was empowering, inspiring people. And I took those clients that I had in the fitness industry and I quickly evolved them into life coaching. Many of them wanted to start businesses of their own, and I helped them start their businesses. Many of them grew really fast and became really successful. Many of them on QVC. And I sat there watching all these companies become successful. And I was getting a consulting fee. And I realized my ideas, my creativity is what my biggest asset is. No one taught me that in school. No one taught me my creativity was my biggest asset. I know it's being taught a lot more now because you're sitting here today, but it wasn't being taught to me then. My creativity was my unlimited capital. Art Linkletter, a man who many of you may not know, but he created a famous show called Kids Say the Darndest Thing. And he was an icon in television and in entertainment and the media. Art Linkletter was good friends with Walt Disney. And he told a story at a luncheon one day about how when Walt Disney started Disneyland, he went with him and walked around and said, "Hey, Art, what do you think about this? What do you think about this whole amusement park and families coming here?" And Art said, "I think it's great, but I'd like to give you a piece of advice. What if you hired a bunch of college students to run around and take pictures, and you set up little huts and then sold them to the families as everybody left?" Today, that's a common thing, right? You don't even think that somebody actually thought of that. Art Linkletter and Walt Disney shook hands that day for Art to get a royalty from that idea, meaning residual income that appeared into his mailbox effortlessly every month or every quarter for the rest of his life. That was a tipping point for me. Because I thought, wait a second, I have those ideas all the time. No one told me I could make money with those ideas. Well, what do I do with those ideas? So I learned quickly the potential of taking an idea and applying it to something. And I had an idea journal at that time this big. And I kept adding to it, adding to it, adding to it. And I knew someday I was going to do one of those ideas. But in that day, and at that time period, I was still going to be making everybody else successful. Because you know why? I was afraid. I was afraid of failure. My fear of failure was paralyzing me from going to the next level. Because while I was doing what a lot of people thought was cool at the time, and probably out of a comfort zone, I truly wasn't pushing myself out of my comfort zone. And someday, I was going to do one or two of those ideas in that idea journal and be really successful and get that mailbox money like Art Linkletter was getting, because that mailbox money sounds like working smarter instead of working harder to me. And I sure knew that service industry, working in the fitness industry and consulting, if you're not there, you don't get paid. And I didn't want to do that forever. I wanted to leverage my knowledge. I wanted to leverage my time. I wanted to create a brand that had equity, that I didn't need to show up every day for work, or I got to pick and choose what I really love to do and not do those things that I don't like that much for that many more years. I have a bracelet on today from a licensing deal that I've recently done for my own jewelry line. On this exact bracelet, the quote on it is, "Someday is today." Because if we keep saying someday, I could have been 40, 50, 60, or maybe never. And the thing that set me free of my fear was sitting on my front porch, I kid you not, in a rocking chair. Ironic, I know. Reading Fast Company. And I was reading about this company who had an idea exactly like mine. And I opened it up and I said, they stole my idea. They stole my idea. The reality is, they had the same idea. Only they had the courage to do it and I did not. And I thought about my idea journal and all those ideas in there. And someday, I could tell my daughters how all those ideas in there somebody else did and made millions and hundreds of millions, if not billions, off of those ideas. But Mommy was really smart because I wrote them down in my idea journal. Or I could realize that I can't tell them to do and be everything that they can do and be if I'm not doing it myself. And I realized in that moment I had more fear of regret than I had of failure. I have more fear of regret than I have of failure. Because it's our fear of failure that holds us back, but that regret at the end of the day and the end of our lifetime is a heck of a lot worse. And that was the moment that set me free. And not too long after that is when I was in a grocery store with both of my girls in car seats, put them down to pay at the cash register. Both of them began wailing, screaming, crying, like screaming, crying. I had a line, I was of course in the express lane, so I had a line of impatient people behind me. I went to get my credit card out of my bag and I realized I couldn't find it. I started panicking, freaking out, sweating, feeling awful. I was holding up a line full of people and I dumped my bag in front of the cash register. Now, and I'm thinking to myself, as far as innovation has come in our society, we as women are accepting a bucket for a bag. It's literally a bucket. I could stick a mop in it, it's a bucket. We're accepting this as a bag. And no one's complaining. And my mom had a mantra, you're not allowed to complain about something unless you're gonna do something about it. And I kept thinking to myself, what am I gonna do? I don't even know how to draw a stick person. What could I do about this? I know nothing about the fashion industry. I know nothing about the handbag industry. I don't know how to manufacture a product. I talked myself down and out of every reason why I shouldn't be the one to do it. And then, one day, 6 months later, I was unloading the dishwasher. And I had a bird's eye view of the knives, forks, and spoons, standing up straight. And I thought to myself, it's so cool. They stand up straight, and I don't have to be like, hey, where are the forks? Hey, where are the spoons? I know exactly where they are, because they're standing up straight. And I thought to myself, that's exactly how I want everything in my handbag to be, standing up straight. So I took the dishwasher tray out of the dishwasher, I stuck it into my handbag, got all my contents, especially that little lip liner that you refuse to part with because it's discontinued and you save for special occasions, but you can never find it because it's that small. And I could see it in the bag. And I knew that that was the answer to the same problem that millions of women had. And I began my journey there. And I began that journey with all the reasons why I shouldn't do it, and all the reasons why I had to do it. Thank goodness the reasons that I had to do it outweighed the reasons I shouldn't do it. But the one thing that I did in emerging this brand that no one else did, and why I believe it became one of the fastest growing handbag brands in history, is because I made the brand the first and foremost priority. And I made it marketing, PR, advertising, social media, which was really new then, networking, blogs, podcasts, speaking. All of these components are all part of building the brand, but most importantly, I knew why I was doing this. I had a mission, and it wasn't just to make women's lives more easy, more organized. It was to inspire all the other people who saw the bag, who had the ideas of the dishwasher trays and never did them because they didn't think that they could draw, and they didn't think they didn't have the right degree, and they didn't think they were smart enough, and they didn't have enough money, and they didn't have everybody to surround them. It became my symbol of the American dream. And I told my story because branding really is about the story too. Sarah Blakely just hit the youngest female billionaires list. A great story to follow. Sarah launched her company a couple years prior to me, and I noticed what she was doing. The same thing Martha Stewart did, the same thing Kate Spade did. They were telling their story. They were the living, walking billboard of their brand. A brand needs a voice, it needs life, it needs a spirit, it needs a mission. Tom's Shoes is another great example. We're in a social world. The games have changed, and guess what? It's in favor for entrepreneurs. It's in favor to have breakout new brands who are doing cool things. Social media allows all entrepreneurs to brand and market themselves in a way that actually has way more leverage than corporations do, because most corporations have no idea where to begin, and they hire somebody who doesn't even really know what the message is or the mission is. Very few corporations are getting it. Southwest Airlines is one who got it. So if you want to follow a brand, a big brand that's getting it, they're one. But branding is about a mission. It's a message. It's an intention. It's a purpose. And it is something that gives value, typically solving a problem. Those are the 5 things that make a brand. And once you figure out those 5 things, then you can distribute your messages on all these platforms. And you can list them. Social media, traditional networking, which means going to events and being out there. Yes, you are the walking, talking billboard. And once again, as the walking, talking billboard, you have to align your image with your brand. You're now responsible. So I was in San Francisco last week at AdTech. It was so cool. Because I turn around, there'd be one guy with a mohawk and the other guy with like the most fancy 3-piece suit and all kinds of embellishments. Because people were identifying what their brand was. The techies, the social geeks, they were the ones walking around in the mohawks. I knew exactly who was developing in the creative content side. And I knew who the investors were. Because everyone was dressed in their role. You're a character. You're an entertainer. As an entrepreneur, you're an entertainer. I don't believe that one brand ambassador should not have had some sort of training in media training, theatrics, public speaking, because it gets you to express ideas. My degree in education that I thought I was never going to use traditionally, I use all day, every day. I'm using it right now. At that time period, I didn't know what I was going to do with my education degree. It taught me how to express an idea, formulate opinions, express it to diverse audiences, and sell. Selling. I was selling ideas. That's what you're taught to do in teaching. Also, all these other platforms, speaking, giveaways, affiliate marketing, daily deals. Daily deal sites are powerful brand building tools. Celebrity gifting. Getting your products, your brand, in the hands of celebrity is a powerful tool. It's one of the first tools I used to instantly elevate my brand. My brand was just launched. I went to a celebrity gifting suite. It wound up in the hands of Paris Hilton, who was the it girl at the time. Then it was in Us Weekly the next day, and the wave begun there. One of the next big things was Oprah. Once the wave starts going is when the work actually begins, because you got to ride that wave. Facebook and Google Ads, joint ventures and strategic partnerships, blogs, podcasts. Sorry, I'm going so fast. I got the wrap it up sign. I want to make sure you have all these pillars to build your brand. Radio, paper, newspaper. Yes, it does still work, and yes, it still converts. Local papers actually convert more. Going local isn't just a saying. It actually works. When I'm on local television, I have more sales for bags, jewelry, books, everything. Magazines, video. Video is the biggest social platform you should be playing on right now. Old emails, it's a debate constantly, or email's going to go away, but for the most part they are. Because an email might be coming in this form of just a video soon. There's an awesome new platform that I just partnered with called Spreecast, S-P-R-E-E-C-A-S-T. It's an amazing social video platform. Speaking and teaching. Whether you're teaching at a local college, community college, whether you're teaching in a community center. Speaking, it's another way of building your platform. TV, powerful. Becoming an author, that's your expert business card. This is my business card now instead of my other business card. It's a more powerful business card. I just up-leveled my business card. Licensing. I built my brand to a level that I don't have to make my stuff anymore. I come up with the ideas and I go to the people that make the stuff because I'm not good at making the stuff, right? I told you that. I was honest from the beginning. It's not my strength. My strength is in creating and marketing. But I create enough equity to go to these people and get the licensing deals. Events is a powerful brand building tool. Sponsorships and sponsor partnerships is another powerful tool. And the last one, which is the one I'm having the most fun with right now, is a spokesperson. Because once you build your equity and credibility as an expert, companies come to you to speak to the audience that you speak to. And that, to me, is the most fun. Those are all the platforms that you can build your brand once you have those 5 things, that you know what those 5 things are. The most important of those 5 is, what is your intention? And I'm going to close with this. My intention is to empower and inspire as many people as possible to know that they're capable and worth more than they ever thought was possible. That is my intention. So all those other things and opportunities that come along my way, if they do not align with that intention, they are not in alignment with my brand. Having that intention clears the way for all other things. I appreciate your time today, and I think we're going to open for Q&A for a few minutes. Yeah. It's actually an awesome question. There's a book called Blink by Malcolm Gladwell. Yes. That book addresses exactly what you're talking about. It's about following your intuition and your instincts. How do you know when you're taking risks that are self-destructive? And how do you know when you're taking calculated, educated risks? Usually you know in a blink. By your intuition. The ones that I've made the mistake on every single time, looking back, is when I didn't listen to my intuition. Whether it was partnering with people that I knew weren't of full integrity, but they were successful and they had all this money and they had all this access and they had all this stuff, or not asking. I just had an experience a week and a half ago where my business manager told me not to ask for a certain amount of money and stuff for a deal I was doing because I was going to kill the deal. And I knew in my gut it was the right thing to ask for. In my mind, started to try and talk me out of it because he's my manager and he has a lot of experience. I didn't listen. I listened to my gut. I got exactly what I wanted, but there's a ton of experiences prior to that when I listened to my managers or people guiding me, and I knew it wasn't right within me. And that's usually practicing your intuition. Reading up on intuition in business is actually really important. And it's a skill set you develop by testing over and over again. Is there another question? I think we have time for like 1 or 2 more. If you want it, go for it.
Do
Yes. Right now, traditional advertising is a big no-no. Unless you have millions and millions and millions of dollars just to throw and hope for the best, that would be probably the one thing I wouldn't do, especially as an entrepreneur. And the other thing is to not use creativity, to do what everybody else is doing. When everybody else is going right, go left, really, because that's where you're going to get attention. Everyone's doing this way. If everyone's tweeting everything this way, and you come in and tweet with a whole different formula, people are going to be like, hey, what? And at first there might be aversion to it, but then people are going to pay attention. Change is hard for people, but change also, if you're doing what everybody else is doing, then who's going to pay attention? But if you're doing something different that has a little more of a shock value, or not shock in a bad way, but shock in terms of like, if all tweets are going this way and you go bleep, 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 people are going to pay attention.
Is there anything you do on a regular basis that you would say really stimulates creativity in marketing and products?
Yes. Meditation. And it took me 12 years to say that. 12 years of trying so hard to meditate. I'm going to do it, and my mind's going to be quiet. And I finally got it. My mind doesn't have to be exactly quiet. I just have to tone it down. Guided meditation is critical for me, because if I'm not in guided meditation, it starts going up again, like in a million different directions. But meditation and yoga is actually huge for creativity. And for me, it's the one thing I can't give enough accolades to. Quieting your mind, actually, there's a famous quote by Ram Dass, when you quiet your mind, you then can begin to hear. And so hear means instinct, intuition, guidance, inner guidance. In terms of a technical answer of that, I also do these exercises like where I'll take a pencil and I'll challenge myself to look at that pencil and make it into 50 products that didn't exist, 50 other uses for that pencil, and then 100 ways to market those ideas, 100 ways to market the pencil. Or one or two of those ideas I'll take and push myself. How could I market that? 100 ways and all the platforms and all the distribution. Guerrilla marketing, by the way. Guerrilla marketing I didn't put on that list, so add that to your list of pillars for your platform. Puzzles is another great way. Crossword puzzles, puzzles. It's another great way to stimulate your creativity.
I have one more question.
Sure.
For the girls and gentlemen who are here who use social media but maybe aren't going to be an entrepreneur, it's a hot button topic today, employers looking at your social media. Can you talk about, do you use social media personally or do you use it for business, and what are your recommendations?
Yes. I love social media. I really do. And also another thing you should be aware of is Clout, K-L-O-U-T. It's one of the social influence aggregators that's critical, and actually is truly another game changer. And I've experienced it firsthand. I do all my own social media. I won't ever outsource it. It's kind of like giving someone keys to the $200,000 car that you spent your whole life trying to get. I spent my whole life building my brand and equity. I'm not about to let somebody go crash it. So I do it myself. And you ask the question of personal and professional, I'm all one. I'm one. Who I am personally and who I am professionally is the same person. Are there things that I keep low-key on my personal side? Yes. Like I don't put really pictures of my daughters on Facebook or through social media. They were on the cover of Avon with me, so I did that because that was more marketing. It was a different aspect, but I keep their names and I keep that private. But I am, as an entrepreneur or someone who really found the authenticity of their brand, you're kind of all the same. I don't talk about dating on Facebook, or Twitter, or I don't talk about those kind of things, but I still can't really separate my personal life and my private life because they're, for the most part, all one and the same. I think that it is the number one place all employers go to find out about people. And once it's out in cyberspace, it doesn't go away. So be really, really aware of what your brand is and what you hope to be doing in the future. And every single time you're about to place something on Facebook or Twitter or any other social media venue or video, especially video, know that it doesn't go away, ever. And make sure it's in alignment with what you want people to see 10, 20, 40 years from now when you have children of your own. Or your parents, it's another gauge. Would I want my parents to see this? Would I want my kids to see this? Would I want my potential employer to see this? Does it make me proud of who I am? It's a powerful thing. Okay. Thank you.